Okay, welcome everybody. Finally, after almost 2 years, I believe, that we didn't have anything going on for the big community of IIT Digital Alumni. We made it. It was quite a ride. Tight schedule, tight time. We were not sure we could have made it. We made it. We would have loved to be in a worse place. Unfortunately, it's not the case, but thanks to the Swedish government here, COVID doesn't exist, as you can see. Like, you smell the air and there's nothing. It's sanitized. So we can actually have big events with more than just 50 people. And I'm happy to have, well, not here in this moment, but in the whole event, around 80 participants. So I'm really proud of all of you guys to be here today. I'm really happy. Yesterday we had so many inconveniences, and yet I was jumping all over the place, and I was just super excited to finally have all the people gathered here together. So let's hope that this is just the first step towards a new series of big events all together. That is what I applied for the board for. Sorry for my English that I learned through TV series, but I'm gonna now start introducing the first speaker that is representing today EIT Digital. So a big warm welcome to Nicola Marcon.
Thanks, guys. I guess you can hear me, right? Yeah. Change the presentation. All right. Thanks, Luca. Thanks, everyone, and good morning. Welcome. And to be honest, I never thought I was going to be on this side at this stage. But this is it. And today, so I'm representing EIT Digital, and on behalf of the EIT Digital Board Director, Göran Olsson, who couldn't make it today, I'm here. I was a fellow student back in 2016, then graduated 2018, and now I'm EIT Digital Postmaster Professional. I don't know if you are aware of this position, probably the sort of the last generation of Postmaster Professional. But here I am, representing EIT Digital. I think for me it's a great pleasure to be part of the opening of this event. And what I want to do before I get into this very short presentation, don't worry, it's going to be very short, but a big round of applause to the Alumni Board, because they really deserve it. They've done an amazing job. Thanks. As I said, it's going to be a really quick presentation, probably less than 5 minutes. But there's just a few key messages that I wanted to deliver. The idea, since we are the EIT Digital Alumni community, right? And I think from now onwards, hopefully, we can start looking at EIT Digital from a different perspective. We're aware, we're very familiar. I think most of us, they come from the entrepreneurial education of this ecosystem. So this is the mission that EIT Digital has, and that's the core of the EIT Digital, the ecosystem. So we are well aware of the entrepreneurial education, but the ecosystem is also interconnected to the innovation and entrepreneurship. And what that means, because we talk about a lot of innovation, and sometimes it can be misleading, sometimes it can be deceiving. So definitely, if you put it in more concrete wording, it's about a pan-European ecosystem, which relies not only on a huge network of universities and research institutes, but it's also about large corporates, small, medium enterprises, and also startups. So that's the core of EIT. I think that's a clear picture. We look at Europe and how many countries where EIT Digital is present, and it's amazing to think how is that every year growing actually. And then if we look at a couple of numbers, I'm going to name just a few. Since the start, so 2010, so yes, last year we celebrated the 10th anniversary. So since the birth of EIT Digital, we supported more than 400 scale-ups. There was a total investment raised by scale-ups of more than 1 billion. And then the region of those scale-ups is among 20 different countries in Europe. I think that itself is a clear picture of how amazing this network is. Just a few words in terms of Sweden, which I think we well aligned with the EIT Digital mission. first, what I wanted to do is ask you how many of you are actually studied at KDH, like, great. That's quite impressive. I was expecting it, like, I would say more than a half. And so we're really proud to be one of the most, let's say, popular place in the ELT Digital Network in terms of talent, in terms of students and now alumni. But we're not only focusing on that, we're also very active in the innovation side, and we're active in the innovation factory and in the accelerator. Those two things are also something that we really truly consider. That was about it. So the one thing I believe, and we had a slightly taste yesterday, the whole weekend is about networking, right? So we'll get to mingle, we'll get to have fun, we'll get to share stories, possibly come up with some ideas. We'll probably do that this afternoon. We'll be talking about it like later, tomorrow, Monday, whatever. We'll be in touch. One thing that I wanted to say, also one clear message, and now being part of the ELT Digital, I can assure you, like all of my colleagues, so the Node Director, Joanna, CLC, and Co-Acting Manager, Peter Communication, but everyone, independently where we are in Europe, they're very open and welcome to any ideas that you have. So please get in touch with them. And that was about it. So really have fun, guys, because that's the most important thing. And then we'll see on the other side.
Thank you, Zara. And a very big thank to ELT Digital Sweden. Stockholm Node really put a great effort for us to actually be here today and make this happen. They gave us access to these auditoriums. We're going to have access to the CLC. They really collaborated with us and helped us in a lot of aspects, and without them, it would have been really, really way more difficult. So big thank to ELT Digital. And well, now after this brief warm-up, are you ready? So I would like to invite our beloved two-times president, Jeroen.
Can you hear me, guys? Let me put a more appropriate slide in our branding colors in the background. Where did we have this, Nico? What happened? Technology, it's not my thing, guys. Graduated from the Digital Master School, but so good morning, everyone. How are you feeling today? It's so good to be back, guys. It's so good to be back in a room with all of you together after 2 years of this. Is the mic on? Can you hear me? Yes. Can you guys please mute yourself so I can talk? Can you see my screen, by the way? It's okay? Yeah, all good. Very good. No, I think it's so much better to be in the room together, right, in the same place. So we could hug each other yesterday. We could high five. We can poke our neighbor. Try it. He's really next to you, not exactly, not actually behind the screen. But that's why I think it's so cool that we're here together, right? That we have this great opportunity to network. Unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic, our annual meeting, it split last year, had to be cancelled. We haven't had an annual meeting for 2 years, so let's make this one count. I think that's really, really what matters. I think it's important to make new friends, meet new people. Some of you may not have met each other, but you all graduated from the same program, or you have been involved in ELT Digital. And I just found out that many of you have actually been studying here, so maybe you can bond over your love or your hate for Stockholm. I don't judge. And it's also a great opportunity to network, I think, to land a new job. If you're looking for a new job, make sure to ask the people around you, or to find a co-founder, to start your own company, do interesting stuff, those sorts of things. Whatever it is, I hope you guys enjoy the event. I hope that you find, whatever you came to look for in Stockholm. I hope you have fun. If there's something, don't hesitate to come to us, because we're happy to also try and make things a little bit better. So about the program today. As you know, the topic of today is social responsibility in tech. And this is a challenge that I think many of us are facing within our daily jobs. Whether we're working on big data or we're working on the energy transformation, in everything, we have a responsibility towards society to make the world a little bit better. We all have to care about our climate, the world around us, and make sure that whatever we do is actually improving things rather than making them worse. So I would put that as a challenge for you today, for all of us, to really think, how can we use our work to make the world around us a little bit better? The moment we go home, the moment we go back to our normal lives, to make sure that we are good for each other, we take care of everything. So we have some parts in the program to get up to date on the state of the community. I will give you an update on where we stand, what kind of things we have managed to do regardless of the pandemic. We have an opportunity to get inspired by an interesting keynote speaker that you will hear more about. We spend a lot of time building hotels in the middle of nowhere, out of bamboo. So I'm sure that's going to be an interesting story that he will tell us. We're going to have the opportunity to network, to work together, have various opportunities to meet new people. This is what I want to highlight, meet new people. And also this that can make the world a little bit better. Now, this annual meeting is also to relaunch our community a little bit. I think I would lie if I say that we haven't felt the impact as a board, as the outgoing board, as the incoming board. And I think engagement is currently low. And that's why I want to thank you all for coming to be here with us in Stockholm. But I also want to challenge you to move the community forward, to organize the things, to do the things that you find cool. Because we have many exciting ideas coming up. We'll tell you all about it, but that's not all. I want you all to go back to your city, to organize nice events, to do something, have a meetup, something small, to really make sure that people know that we exist. That's the most important. Now, that's all for me in terms of the welcome words. I wish you all a great event. Have lots of networking, have lots of fun, and try to get some sleep as well. Thank you very much.
Well, now I'm going to announce the next speaker for the community updates. That is Jeroen Kalle!
Oh, thank you, Luca. How nice. How unpredicted. Yeah, sadly, you have to listen a little bit more to my voice. I hope it's okay, yes. So yeah, thanks a lot. We'll have a little bit of a look in like 10 minutes on what we have been up to in our community, what are the events that have happened, where do we stand, what is coming up, and these sorts of things. There's a video in between, so I hope to keep it a little bit exciting for all of you. So it's good to be back. That's what I said. Let's have a look at the numbers to start with. So do you guys remember how many members we were when we met in Porto? Who was in Porto, actually? How many were we? 1,000 something members. Very good. We're now past 2,000. Yay! But we were already past 2,000 last year. I have to say. Out of this, around 1,000 of you are full members. So these are full graduates of the master school. And then we have a couple of different categories of associate members that finish in summer school, and some students, potential members that haven't graduated yet, but that we're also including in our community. Now, if we look at the growth over time, you may say, oh, guys, it's flattening out a little bit. This, I think, is the biggest consequence of the coronavirus pandemic, right? We have not been able to organize a graduation ceremony. Many of you have not graduated yet officially. You are graduated, congratulations, welcome to the community, but you're still supposed to get your certificate, meaning that you don't count towards the total number of full members that we have in our community. And many more reasons to come. But as you see, we've had quite a stable growth. Even throughout the pandemic, things have moved on and we have continued to welcome many of you to our community. In terms of the master school alumni, this is a similar picture, right? The growth is continuing. I think we're also going to continue this growth over time, but more and more people will be welcomed very soon. Next graduation ceremony will be massive, guys. I don't know how we're going to do this as board to get all of you registered on our website, but I think the bars are going to look great. Now, before we look into the future, I think it's also a great opportunity to thank the outgoing board, the guys that never managed or never could organize an annual meeting because there was a pandemic going on. Can I ask for a round of applause for them? Not for me, I'm still here, for them. 2 years of hard work in the pandemic. So thanks a lot. They're all here as well. Give them a hug, pay them a beer later. I'm sure they're going to be very happy. Now, looking at the new board as well, we have a fresh new board that we elected this summer. They're all in the room as well. Maybe you can wave, guys. I'm sure you have met us in this beautiful new t-shirt. Excited to start, to have this adventure ahead of us. You can see my face looks a little bit familiar to the previous president that we had. Not sure how come, but might be. So yeah, let's have a little bit of a look of what those boards together have achieved, right? Over the last 2 years, usually we would summarize 1 year, but I think now, since we haven't seen each other in 2 years, we have a little bit more things to catch up on and some more things to share. So an overview of the working groups. We're still present in all these cities. If your city is not there, you're warmly invited to write us and become a local working group in your city, and we can expand this list together. So as you can see, we have various cities in China, Berlin, the USA, Hungary, Helsinki, and so on. And on the bottom, we have a couple of working groups that are more topic-based. One that I particularly want to highlight is this one, the annual meeting in Stockholm, because these guys have organized this event. So I'm going to ask you to clap again, because I don't know, they're all in the room. We need to make this loud so Sina can hear us outside as well, okay? Let's try. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Very good. No, really, without those guys, there wouldn't be an annual meeting. All of us in the board are not living in Stockholm, so we have relied on their support countlessly to countless times.
Like a lot of thanks to Nicola, to
Exactly.
that is somewhere there, to Lydia, that is not here, Lydia. Okay. And
Probably arranging some stuff.
Seen as well, that is the guy that's basically opened doors the whole time and let you in.
The guy that opens doors. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. There wouldn't have been an annual meeting without you guys. Has to be said. Now, in addition to that, we have tried to launch a couple of other working groups on new topics, on lifelong learning, web development throughout the pandemic. But I'm going to be honest with you, these have not been very successful. The working groups are not yet off the ground. And for that, we're also going to need your help, your input to make that a reality, right? So if you want to help out to structure our activities on, lifelong learning, professional development, networking, and so on, or on web development, make sure to let us know as well. And also in this regard, if you would want to work on a new topic, for example, you want to gather people that have an interest in machine learning or a job in data science, make sure to write us, because we can also have different groups focusing on these different topics. Now, it's also good to welcome our new local reps that joined recently. So I also want to welcome and thank you, Sergio, Eli, and Giovanni, who are our new local representatives in these 3 cities. Very cool to have you on board. And we look forward to the many cool activities, no pressure, that you're going to organize. So yeah, having a little bit of a look at what we have done in the last year, we have organized activities around the globe. And I say around the globe because most of them are actually online. So they were very inclusive, everyone could join regardless of where they were based. Balas joined us many times from Vancouver. We had people joining from India and so on. So very nice. We also were lucky enough to have a couple of events in different cities, in Helsinki, in Stockholm. We had 2 events in China and an event in Madrid recently, in cities where it was possible within the local regulations to do certain things. But also here, we hope that very soon we will be able to organize more events in your cities and to be able to be in a room together again. To name a couple of examples, we recently had this event in Shangzhou. I probably pronounce it terribly, where a lot of alumni gathered on the other side of the world, which was very nice, I heard. We've also had a couple of events in Helsinki. We have some pictures from the Run and Chill event that took place last year, but they also recently organized an event in the sauna that I hear there were no good pictures of. So I guess that means it was fun, right? Then we had a meetup in Madrid as well recently. And of course, we have been doing our online Tuesday afterwards. To give you a little bit of a recap, we had all these topics that we went through both in 2020 and in 2021 that you can still find on our YouTube channel if you would want to see them and check them out. Then last year, we also organized our first ever online hackathon, the Alumni Hack, which was a great success, I think. We managed to do a lot of work on our website, thanks to many of you contributing. And also this concept we hope to continue. There was also the Startup of the Year contest that we carried out over the last years, and I think it's a good opportunity to also congratulate Grinel, if I pronounce it properly, who won our startup contest this year and are the start of the year. Are you in the room? I don't know, maybe not. Currently not. then there's no applause. Very good. Moving on to a couple of other updates of things that were not in the form of events. And here I'm going to have to borrow Lucas' microphone because we have a nice new promotional video that I saw on YouTube in terms of numbers. Not many I've seen. And the good thing about having an event in person is that we can actually watch it together, right?
I used to think that I was just part of an ongoing process. No clear beginning.
Great. Very good.
I used to think that I was just part of an ongoing process. No clear beginnings, no end in sight. Just an ever-flowing stream of actions and decisions. As an EIT Digital Master's student, I was wondering what I would do after graduation. What should I do with ideas when they come to me? I needed a support structure before my ideas could materialize and take shape. Then I met a senior student who introduced me to EIT Digital's Alumni Foundation, the global community of Europe's tech innovators. My ideas finally had a place to grow. Through the weekly Tuesday after work sessions, I connected with fellow EIT Digital students and alumni living all over Europe. I was exposed to the different ways my colleagues were actualizing their ideas, and I learned about the practicalities of tech-driven entrepreneurship. Lessons you don't always get in class. With all the advice I received and the preparation I undertook with my mentors and colleagues, I finally brought my pitch to the Alumni Foundation's annual startup contest, which my team won. And just like that, we embarked on the adventure of a lifetime. My vision thrives among a fellowship of exciting entrepreneurs as we build upon each other's concepts, strengthening them to withstand the scrutiny of potential partners and investors. We build trust in the community and help new graduates find opportunities to develop their projects. The entrepreneurial spirit runs through each of our members, gathering energy along the way. These are projects that can influence our lives and advance our understanding of the ever-changing world. They will become reality sooner rather than later. So I'm glad I didn't choose to spend my life chasing someone else's dreams. A rising tide lifts all boats. Our ideas matter, and this is a platform to be seen and heard. The time to make an impact is now, not later. I never lost sight of my end goals, so I found their beginning. And so can you. We maintain a unique bond with the foundation. This community is like a family, a large global network that still manages to feel intimate. I realize now that it all comes down to one thing. The feeling of belonging to a community. I've learned a lot, and now I want to give back.
Very good. At least you have to listen, or you didn't have to listen to my voice for 3 minutes, so that's good. I hope you like it. Feel free to share it on your social media as well if you want to share people what we do, use it at events and so on. It's also there for you to give an idea of what we are working on together. Now, some more good news. We have also managed to secure quite a lot of new partnerships in the last couple of months. Carlos has been working hard to make sure that we are on track there. So a couple exciting things to announce. The Flixbus discount is back after quite some time of not having vouchers. They are back. You can use a 10% discount on all your Flixbus journeys by requesting the voucher codes on our website. Then there's also Croissant, which is a co-working space that you can get 30% discount for the first 3 months. And we are working on further discounts on the longer term plans as well. Those are soon to become. Then there is Enhanced CV, in which you get 20% off and you can create a fancy looking CV just for you. So you can use it. And I think the best of all, there is the EIT Digital Professional School, if you would want to participate in any of the professional courses that EIT Digital is organizing. Also, if you make your employer pay. So it's an easier sell to your employer if the price is 50% less than it usually is. Then, as you probably saw, we have continued to work on our community platform, where we continue to publishing jobs. If you're looking for a job, if you offer jobs, make sure to check it out and place them there. We've also worked on the redevelopment. Big thanks to Damiano, who's in the room, who's been working countless nights on the migration from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 for the insiders. It was terrible. But we pulled it off, and the whole website is now refreshed in the renewed colors. And the most important thing is that this is going to allow us to continue the development in the months and years to come. Then we also established a database of pictures. So there's a Flickr account that you can look at, where we have all the pictures of our past events and also many of the pictures from EIT Digital events, from graduation ceremonies and these sorts of things. So check them out if you feel a bit nostalgic towards the EIT Digital times. And then most importantly, in all of this in the background, we have gotten, thankfully, we have gotten support from our community administrator, who has been hired to work 2 days a week for EIT Digital, for us, basically. We had Gafar working for us for the past year throughout the pandemic, and recently Joyce joined us, who's in the room, so make sure to say hi to her as well. I think Joyce has already been a great support in the last couple of weeks, helping us out, mainly, keeping track of administrative things, answering emails, keeping track of what you guys are up to, so that we have a better overview of what's happening in the community. Then in terms of the EIT alumni, also work continued in an online form. We had an online EIT Connect. There will be another online event for the EIT alumni, our umbrella association, together with all the other kicks, so with climate kick, with health, with food, and so on. We'll have another event in the end of the year. We have had a hackathon with EFSA. I think some of you participated, which was very nice as well. EFSA is the European Food Safety Authority. And then we recently elected a new president of the EIT alumni to really foster this sort of overarching work, to have someone dedicated to the collaboration rather than the individual board members representing the communities being there. So we have Anka representing us on that EIT level. She's now the EIT alumni president since a couple of weeks as well. Now, of course, that's what was in the past, but I think we're all excited because it seems the pandemic is not over yet, but at least allowing us more and more to do certain things again, to meet up and so on. So I think the best is yet to come. Let's have a look at what we are planning to do in the future. So we have a couple of broad goals that we outline. And I think the number one goal for us as a board is going to be to increase the engagement with you guys, to be together in the same room, to organize events, to make sure that we can be together and to learn from each other, to network and so on. The second one is to motivate and expand our network of volunteers. We had a great group of volunteers, but we also understand that volunteering throughout the pandemic is not the most exciting thing in the world. I feel you. But from now on, we really hope that we can recruit many of you to help us out in the local cities, as I said, to set up your working group and to contribute to events. Thirdly, we want to support innovation. We want to make sure that the startups that are there within our community have the support from our community and can thrive, can become successful, can bring in investments and so on. And really be proud that they are a part of the EIT Digital alumni, feel supported by all of us that are not having startups, and really aim for the highest possible outcome. And lastly, this one is a little bit boring, but it's about financial sustainability. As you may know, the EIT Digital has received quite significant reduces in funding from the EIT because the EIT is choosing to spend its money in different places, which means that also we have the pressure to reduce our financial footprint. Our plan is to start working on more financially sustainable events, which will mean a fair warning for all of you that we will be starting to charge more for events so that you actually pay what it costs for you to participate. To tell you a secret, right now we put money on the table to pull these sorts of events off. So that's there to come. Together we have to work towards financial sustainability and make sure that everything is good and we can continue our operation. Now, of course, we can't do that alone with the 7 board members that are there. All of us have quite a lot of things to organize, quite a lot of things to do. So I'm going to end with the thing that I've said countless times now. We need you to help us out. If you feel inspired, if you have ideas, reach out to us, look for us during the event. Let's have a beer, talk about it, and I'm sure we can make this happen in your city. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jeroen. It was very nice to see what we actually managed to do during this pandemic period. It was not much, but it was something, and especially what we're gonna do. And speaking about the future and what we're gonna do, our outreach and partnership officer, Carlos Callejo, I don't know how to pronounce Spanish name. I've been in Gran Canaria 1 month and I cannot speak Spanish yet, but a warm applause to Carlos that is gonna present you a surprise.
Can you have to put it I think it's the other way around. You have to put it like this. Yeah, it's this time, come on. Yeah.
Okay, and you can hear me. Nice.
Okay. Well, we have a good. Let's just put it down. Well, we have a surprise for you guys. So, yeah, this picture. Well, what do you see here, guys? Apart from Luca, what do you? Yeah, so it's like working, right? A sunny place, the warm sunny place. Nice, yeah. That should be due in a few months. Really? I don't know who is planning or is already thinking about going remote working, but yeah, we have a big surprise for you. Yeah. So yeah, welcome to EIT Digital Alumni co-living. I'm gonna explain you how it works, what it is, what can you do, where it's gonna be, everything. So when? So it's gonna be February, March, and or March, depends on you. So at least there will be 1 month. That's the only requirement, I think. It's gonna be in Fuerteventura, so it's a nice island in the Canary Islands, like the one with the best beaches you can find there. Really warm, sunny place. I think February, March, you will be probably depressed. Maybe if you are, I don't know, Sweden, Finland, probably most of Europe. So you can, you can come with us. And what we will do, we have saved like a nice discounts with some hotels in a place called Corralejo in Fuerteventura. And we will do, of course, we will do workshops, we will do talks, we will do networking within us, but also with external, because there is one of the places with most remote works and remote workers in Europe, I think in the world. So there's a big community already there, so we can team up. And yeah, so this is, I don't know if you have been in Fuerteventura, but it looks like this. You have volcanoes, you have winter sports, beaches, really beautiful, nice place. And yeah, so here you have like the duration, 11 months up to 2 months. The price is approximately between 500 and 750 euros. Then we will do, you can choose between hotel rooms or apartments. You can share if you want, if not, it's okay. We will have co-working spaces, we will have rooms for events, we will do events maybe every week or 2 weeks, depends. It's gonna be volunteer basis, but we will need to fix those details, I guess, but we will do stuff on top of just, going to the hotel, because otherwise, we need to create community. Activities, talk, workshops, outdoor exploring, water sports, and much, much more. So what activities can you do here in Corralejo? Surf, kitesurf, windsurf. It is a new one, I have no idea about it. Jet surf, jet ski, stand-up paddle. We can rent a boat, we can do some parties there, we can go to, I don't know, Lanzarote, many stuff. And then the land activities we can do, of course, we can enter the beach. Really, really nice there. And yoga, Pilates, calisthenics, actually that's one really nice. Hiking, we can go to volcanoes. We can explore the island. We can do some rents of electric bikes and movies. So there are going to be 2 hotels. All right. These are some of the pictures. As you can see, pretty fancy. There is like a new co-working space. So there is pretty big, pretty new, well prepared for. I think it was up to, there are 33 work class and everything. So we have a rooftop to do events. You have nice views. There's a sunset, like fancy places. This is part of the deal we are reaching. How can you gonna apply to this? So basically, we're gonna leave 1 week after this annual meeting, but so in Monday, November 8th, after work. So in 1 week, we will open a registration form. So you will apply for the hotel you want and the type of apartment, with whom you want to share, if you want to share. The activities you're interested in, right? Because we need to get some numbers to start like looking for deals, so it's cheaper for you as well. And then in mid-December, we need to fix like the reservation with the hotel. So we will need some like it's gonna be like around 20% of the total price. Otherwise, we cannot fix. We need some security. They need some security. Like food and other living costs are not covered. It's just the housing, and we provide like the space for the events. The management of the events. But you have to think. This is mostly gonna be by you, right? Europe cannot fund this, I guess. So there was a really long presentation with way more details. You can check the rooms and everything. You can scan this, all right? Because this is 10 minutes presentation. I cannot go through all of it. Just be sure to scan it. You can check it. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Just a moment. We have like 5 minutes. If you have any Q&A, like just now, any question about that, anything about the co-living space? Okay, one at a time. So we start from the bottom. Gigi. Huh?
The price. Yeah. So because we're gonna be, we're expecting a lot of people because my idea or our idea was 40-50 people per month. Let's see, right? But because we are gonna be a large group and the duration is gonna be more than 1 month, like the hotels can offer us like a package, right? So some hotels, for example, offer like a weekly surf season, or you can rent things for free. So you get some free dinner, you get the co-working. So everything is like included. Because we're a large group, we can offer this sort of things.
I was on Mother Island at the beginning of the pandemic in a 5-star hotel. They offer a 1 month package for 1,400 euros when the normal nightly rate was 250. So in a week you would have paid that. You had a question, right?
Do I need a mic?
Thank you.
Yeah, I see that the sign-up and registration is already happening quite soon, like in a week or so. And I guess for many of us, might need to go through our employer, ask for permission and all that kind of stuff. So can we get more time?
The thing is that the hotels are pushing a little bit to. So they told me in 2 weeks, like they're reserving up, like the availability is not unlimited, right? So I can maybe provide a little bit more time, but it would be nice. I already like leaving 1 week to review with the employers and everything and get the permission. But yeah, I can do it. I can talk later with you. Yeah.
Other question from work? Okay. Other side of okay, you maybe run, eh?
Well,
how about, for example, if you have a friend or somebody that is not from the Alumni network, I guess.
In theory, I mean, it's focused for us, right? But I think we can allow that. Like the hotels won't complain about that because in the end, it's more customers and maybe we can get even a better deal.
Sorry.
Okay.
Just a minute. Thanks.
Last question there. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't trade enough.
Yeah, we just want the price that you said there for the 1 month. Does that include also the activities of the start?
For example, one hotel includes surf lessons, but for example, if you want to do kite surfing, it's a way more expensive sport. So that's usually it's not going to be included. You have to take that into account. These activities like surfing, renting stuff. It's excluded, but the thing is, if right or do. So if we have a big number, for example, for surfing, then we can go to the surfing schools and say, like there are many. The thing is, like I said, if we're a large group, we can get a really nice price, I think. But that will depend on what you are choosing. Yeah.
That's it.
And now there's one more.
Okay, sorry.
So let's say you have a partner, can they join even if they're not in the IT? Like, can they share?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah, yeah, I think it would be nice. One more.
This was easier. Just one question. Is it February or March or February and March?
The minimum is 1 month. The maximum is 2 months. It's going to be between those 2 months. In the beginning, it was going to be only February, but we expanded to March because the majority of people will be first. That way, you have the chance to join.
Yeah. Anyway, for the question that the second question we had about the timing, I think rather just start speaking already now and then apply because the application is going to close in 2 weeks, but it doesn't mean that it's limited. Like you can apply and then probably there is going to be a waiting list. And if you cannot make it, maybe someone else can make it. Just try your best. We're gonna hopefully maybe extend 1 more week. Let's see. We're gonna try to push a lot with hotels, but unfortunately, when we start arranging events and so on, they want everything like 3 months in advance because otherwise they're gonna be not selling the spots. So it could be a problem. All right, so this was it. I hope you liked the surprise. Especially now being in the cold and looking at these amazing beaches. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and I'm ready to announce the new speaker. That is going to be the keynote of the event. So it is, I'm going to check because otherwise I'm going to forget important details. But we have here now, just entered the room, the CEO and co-founder of Bamboo. That is a sustained tech company working on carbon dioxide removal. So here we have Freddy Ketlow. Okay, sorry for the pronunciation. He spent around 30 months in the jungles of Sri Lanka, am I correct? Building a luxury bamboo hotel. And then he saw some opportunities with carbon absorption, bamboo, and sustainable development. So I would like to, in a second, giving the microphone. Carlos, where do you put the mic? Here. I would like to give the stage in a second and setting up the presentation as well. Too many things for one man only. Do we have it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Is it working? Yeah, I think so. Hey, how are you doing? As always, something working.
Where is the mouse? There.
Breathe. Cool.
Like 5 minutes.
Ready? You ready?
Yeah. Hello.
Big applause then to Freddy Cacco, founder and co-CEO of Flixbus.
Thanks, Luca, for a lovely introduction. Hello, I'm Freddie. I've been used to doing this on Zoom for the last couple of years, so excuse me if I witter wrong. You won't be able to put me on mute, unfortunately, for at least 45 minutes. So, yeah, here we go. Which one is it on? 4 screens.
Man, which one did you put that on? Oh yes, this one.
Okay, Ian?
You just, yeah.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I'm Freddie. I'm going to talk to you. I don't want it to be a lecture. I wanted to give you like a bit, I don't know, something a bit different. A little bit of my background and a bit about carbon markets to give, because it's such a big topic at the moment. Like climate change, carbon removal is really quite like pressing. And then how I got into bamboo a little bit, and then what I'm doing or trying to do now with bamboo. So yeah, here's the topics. Oh, has anybody done a waka papa before? Does anyone know what a waka papa is? Okay, anyone from New Zealand? I'm not going to dance, I promise. No, waka papa is yeah, a traditional like introduction in Maori culture where you introduce yourself by your mountain, by your river, and by your tribe. So like my family, my tribe. So to give you a little bit of a background of who I am and where I'm from the northwest of England, the Lake District. Has anybody been? Yeah, nice. And yeah, my mountain's Fairfield Horseshoe. I used to work as a shepherd on my friend's farm, gathering sheep for a few years. So that's my mountain, and that's where I spend a lot of time at the Lake District. If anyone goes to the UK, go there. It's honestly like beautiful, and yeah, it's home, so I love it very much. My river is my wire. That's the river that runs through my village. I used to go fishing there heaps when I was a kid. And my tribe is the Catlow tribe. We're from East Lancashire, so like it's apparently the industrial like heartland of the UK. The northwest of England is where the Industrial Revolution kicked off. So probably historically, it's probably emitted the most emissions in the world, like as an area of the world. So yeah, so my Catlow tribe from there. Sorry about the pixelated image. It's quite an old one. I wanted to include my grandparents in it, but unfortunately they're not here anymore. So yeah, climate change and social inequality, like it's real, and we are so fortunate to sit here today and be able to talk about it and have the education and the opportunity to try and do something about it. I feel immensely privileged as a white Western individual, grown up with so much education in front of me and had the opportunity to learn about climate change, because so many people don't have this opportunity. So yeah, there's forecast to be 1.2 billion refugees by 2050. They're climate refugees, which is shocking. Like that's what, like a sixth or seventh of the world. And yeah, really, we have a responsibility to try and do something. I don't know if anyone follows Earthrise Studios on Instagram, or Jack Harries and Finn Harries. It's an amazing social media platform to get up to date with climate change and education. It teaches a lot. It's a really good platform to follow. These images are from there. Some of the images throughout the presentation are from there. So yeah, it's a sort of moment of truth that we need to act now. And it's not just global south, global north. It's actually men and women. Like 80% of women are more likely to suffer from climate-related disasters. So yeah, it's horrendous that this is happening. But yeah, I don't want to dwell on this for too long because it's a Saturday morning and we want to be upbeat and positive, but that sets the scene, I guess. That's why we need to do something. Unfortunately, there are 209, well, up to date, there's 209 massive multinationals that are signed up to the climate pledge. So this is where they're determined to be net zero by a certain time frame. These are, sorry, I have to look up here because the slides on the screen. Sorry if I'm constantly turning. Yeah, some massive companies like Netflix have said that they'll be net zero by the end of 2022. So does anyone know what net zero means, or like has an idea about what carbon means?
Yeah, I have a question about it. Is it carbon neutral, or in the sense that they don't produce any carbon emissions, or they offset?
So yeah, it's a great question. It's a balance of both. Like we need to remove as much as we produce, and also not emit any more. So we need to reduce and remove. But good question. Maybe we've got the questions at the end. Like, oh no, continue to throw them at me actually, because it's a conversation and a bit of a dialogue. Does anyone work for these companies, by the way? Or nice, yes. Or applied for these companies or use their products? I think everybody uses their products. So as customers, we have like a right to push them to act on climate change. As employees, you can have internal dialogue and you can push them to do the right thing. So I think we all can get behind companies, and it's great that companies are leading the way. The interesting thing is that they all went, right, yeah, net zero 2030, 2040, 2022. And then they've gone, right, like, how do we do that? Like, they've just sort of signed the PR stuff and been like, yeah, right, we're going to do it. But now everyone's going like, shit, how do we get there? What do we need to do? So it's a balance of sort of three things. Question?
Yeah, not clear with Klarna.
Klarna is a big payment platform here in Sweden. I think it's like the biggest fintech company in Europe at the moment. Like it's enormous, and they buy invoices of people and then sell them back to businesses and pay them off. It's a really interesting. They've made. Can I get in trouble for saying they've made debt quite popular and quite cool? Like they've got Snoop Dogg as an ambassador, and they're just sort of a lot of people are in debt. Is it a good thing? They're doing good things. Yeah.
All these big companies, the major contribution into carbon emissions is because of data center elements, right? And electricity consumption, right?
There's so many different types of emissions. So they're sort of broken down to three categories. Like scope 1 is their direct emissions. So like this university, scope 1 emissions are from the electricity to the lights. Scope 2 is looking at the employees and where the employees travel from and the emissions that are generated by their transportation. And then scope 3, which is the hardest and like 70%, like the bulk of the emissions, comes from the supply chain. So if you're manufacturing a widget in Vietnam, like where did the materials come from for that widget? What's the emissions associated with generating that widget? And that should fall under like Microsoft's emissions, like because it's because of their supply chain that there's all these emissions. So actually, it's first and foremost, it's really difficult to do the first thing, which is measure, because emissions are everywhere, and the people aren't very clear in where emissions are generated. Because if you've got some boxes in the back of a truck, like they're your boxes, but actually there's another company that's got boxes in that truck, but the emissions are generated from one truck. So how do you equally distribute the emissions when the truck's been shared? So like it's quite a complex thing to measure it. But it's a good question. But fortunately, there's companies out there that are helping to measure emissions, first and foremost. Has anyone seen, obviously like Tesla, I'm sure Oatly or whatever, any of these like measuring companies? Is anyone familiar with Stockholm, World Favor? Yeah, nice. So yeah, these are helping businesses. They're almost like SaaS models where they can plug and play into the business operations, and they can quantify the amount of CO2 and CO2 equivalent emissions that are generated by these businesses, so that they have a target of how many emissions there are, and then they can start reducing against that sort of baseline until they get to zero, and then every emission that they can't reduce, they can remove through photosynthesis or through bio oil. I'll come to those. But yeah, reduction of emissions. Tesla, if you drive an electric car, you're not emitting fossil fuels if the electricity has come from renewables. And yeah, Oatly, if we drink oat milk,
then we're going to reduce the emissions because cows aren't farming and emitting methane. And then you can reduce emissions. Yeah. So this is a bit of detail, but I will stop with the sort of theory after this slide, really. So looking at offsets and carbon offsets, people have been criticized, businesses have been criticized for carbon credits. People say, oh, it's greenwashing, you're avoiding the problem by planting trees somewhere in the world. So it's important to know that there's sort of two really clear types of offsets, or carbon credits as they're known. So you have emission reduction, which is, we're going to put solar panels on our building instead of burning fossil fuels. So we're going to reduce the amount of emissions that we would have produced with fossil fuels by using solar panels. Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool. So then that's one side of carbon credits. You can invest in carbon credits that avoid deforestation. So you're not chopping down trees, so those trees are continuing to sequester carbon. But those trees were there anyways. So you're avoiding losing out on emissions. And then the other side, which is what's really, really important now, is carbon removal. Because for like 200 years, we've had the Industrial Revolution pumping CO2 into the atmosphere, and now we've got too many emissions in there. We can't continue to buy reduction emissions when we need to remove emissions from the atmosphere. So there's so few companies that are selling carbon removal credits. A lot of the focus has been on these sort of cheap, affordable credits, which is like avoided deforestation, solar panels on roofs, wind turbines, but it's not solving the problem, it's just reducing the impact of businesses. But we need to remove the impact of businesses. So this is from Oxford, and it breaks down, Oxford University, and it breaks down the different types of credits and whether they're permanent or not permanent. And that's really important because you want to remove the carbon out of the atmosphere for a long period of time, for 1,000+ years if possible. So on the right-hand side, those processes are removing emissions for a long period of time. So yeah, this sort of talks about what I was saying about solar panels, wind turbines there. There's conventional ways to reduce emissions, but we can't get to zero with that. We need to remove emissions, and fortunately plants do this through photosynthesis. And because this is a huge problem, there are massive prizes that are appearing because it's a global problem. Elon Musk has put $100 million to remove a gigaton of emissions from the atmosphere, which is amazing. And an Earthshot Prize, I don't know if anyone saw this a couple of weeks ago, Prince William and David Attenborough, they put, I think it's 100 million over the next 10 years into businesses that are trying to remove emissions to challenge the climate crisis. And then these Climate Kick, EIT Digital, the link is, so these are some close to home for startups, including ours. We've been fortunate to get into Sting and Norskin's Startup Climate Action. That was in January at the start of this year. And then Climate Kick, we've recently joined their accelerator program, which is solely focused. It's the first accelerator in the world that's focused on carbon removal startups. So we're really grateful for EIT and the support. So in the last couple of years, as everyone set these net zero targets, companies like Stripe have really started to go, right, well, who's going to generate carbon removal credits? And they just looked around and they found no companies that are doing this. So they said, well, we need to buy these credits. This is the problem. We need to remove these emissions. So they set up a competition and they said, right, which companies are working on technology to remove emissions from the atmosphere? And I think in 2019, they had less than 10 applicants of companies, like globally. That's just unprecedented. The fact that this is a huge, huge problem in the world and there's no companies trying to solve it. Because with a great problem, as we saw, there's great prizes, there's great opportunity, climate change and sustainability. Like they say it's $1 trillion industry. If you can solve that problem, then people will pay for solving that problem and businesses will pay for solving that problem. But yeah, unfortunately, these are sort of three of the highlight companies that Stripe funded in 2019 and 2020. This one on the right is not Climeworks, it's Running Tide, Running Tide, which is growing kelp in the sea. And so kelp is like one of the fastest growing plants in the ocean. It sequesters carbon through photosynthesis sucks it out the air and out the water. And as this kelp grows, it slowly sinks. And then once it sinks deep enough, it can then not return to the surface. And the frame and all this kelp with all its carbon stored inside of it sinks to the ocean floor and stays below the surface and stays in the deep ocean for 1,000 meters down to suck carbon out of the water and out the atmosphere. So that's one very sort of quite heavy industrial way of removing carbon from the atmosphere in the oceans. It's untested and unproven, but people are supporting it because we need to get to gigaton scales of emissions. We need 10 billion tons, so a gigaton is a billion. So we need 10 gigatons of sequestration, of removal of carbon every year for the next, till 2050, so for the next 29 years. So that's 290 gigatons of carbon removal if we're going to stay within 1.5 degrees of warming on our planet. And I don't know if anybody's seen what over 1.5 degrees means, but it's like shocking, like weather, horrendous weather, like increased inequality, like wars, like are we surprised that like this last sort of 10 years we've had more nationalist governments when people are going shit, the world is breaking apart, we need to protect our borders. Nigel Farage, Donald Trump, all these people are now going, well, we need to look after our resources, we need to look after our own, because they know that refugees and there's going to be huge problems. So we need to solve this because this is pretty crap world if we're going to live in it. But BioOil is taking biomass from plants and minerals and compressing it into an oil, refining it into an oil, distilling it, and then pumping it underground into old oil wells, and it polymerizes under the ground and stays out the atmosphere. It's underground. And then I don't know if anyone saw this the last sort of couple of weeks. DAC, Climeworks, they're from Switzerland, they've now set up their first direct air capture, sucking carbon dioxide out of the air and storing it underground, mineralizing it, storing it underground in Iceland. And so these are very high-tech solutions, but at the moment they're not at a scale that is needed and is required. Like their new pilot project, the Orca plant, I think they said that it sequesters enough emissions, this one plant, of the equivalent of 830 cars a year. How many cars are there in the world? It's more than 830. So these things need to scale really quickly.
Yeah, sorry, the previous slide, the figures, that's the price for.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's the price per ton that Strike paid for carbon removal. So for one credit, that was the price. So you can see it's $1,000. Really, really high. And carbon credits that have been sold to date are like $3, $5, $10.
That's why I'm asking, for example, like on I'm familiar with like the UN carbon offset platform, for example, like price starts at maybe $2 per ton.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is the cost of scaling that technology. The price needs to be really high to start the process and the engineering and the industry to scale that's required to start sequestering carbon at a global scale. So then obviously this problem has been brewing, and I've been into sustainability since quite early years. So then started a company called Plan Boo with my two mates. Mark, who I met here at KTH, came on Erasmus like 5 years ago, and we became mates. He's from Catalonia, he's from Barcelona. And then Priya, I met her in Sri Lanka actually. We were surfing, and yeah, she was in sustainability, I was in sustainability. She's been working for the UN in Nepal, and she come on a bit of R&R. And then I actually got super drunk that night, and then slept at the end of a bench because her and a boyfriend that looked after me, and that was the first time I met her. But yeah, thankfully we now founded a company together, and she didn't think I was odd. But yeah, so bamboo, like, why bamboo? Does anyone know anything about bamboo? Has anyone got a bamboo product at home? Yeah? Toothbrush, bamboo toothbrush.
Just for hanging lights outside of the terrace.
Yeah, hanging lights. Yeah, yeah. T-shirt, straw, I'm wearing boxer shorts, chopsticks, yeah. Like, so bamboo, like we've already seen, like it can be used in textiles, it can be used in household products, it can be used for construction, it can be used for paper. It was used in the first light bulb as a filament in it's Thomas Edison, right? That did the first light bulb, yeah? The light bulb, the filament was made of bamboo. So this material, this grass, has been around forever. It's for millennia. When they dropped a bomb on Hiroshima, the first plants to come out of the ground was bamboo, because bamboo is a grass, so its life is underground, it's in the roots. It's like filaments, like small hair-like filaments that spread through the soil, that bind the soil together, so it's really good in areas that have degraded land, because it holds the nutrients, holds the water there. It acts like a balloon. When it rains, all the roots swell up and fill up with water. And then so it can hold lots of water, which is great, because then it doesn't go into the rivers and floods downstream. And then when it's dry, it starts to percolate through the soil and feed everything around it, all the trees. So it's an amazing, amazing plant. And yeah, it grows all over the world. In the tropics and the subtropics. There's like 1,600 species of bamboo, ranging from like tiny, like finger thin poles to like over 30 centimeters in diameter and 35 meters tall. And it grows to that height, this is the shocking thing, in less than a year. Like it gets to that tall in the growing season, so in the monsoon. So in 4 months, it goes from nothing in the ground to 35 meters tall, which is outrageous. Like this building is probably, this is like maybe 10 meters tall tops. So like 3 times this, one plant. Outrageous. Crackers, really. And then you can eat this, like in the shoots, when they're coming out of the ground, if you harvest them, they're full of protein. It's got all that energy charged up inside of it to burst and grow really tall. And it's been used for generations to make shelter. You can split it, you can weave it. It's lots of all the fibers all sort of run the same direction, which makes it easy for splitting, so that you can weave it. And its tensile strength is unbelievable. Like you can try and bend and break a piece of bamboo, and it just goes like. Because it's so tall, nature has engineered it to be able to bend and to flex in wind. So like biophilic design, I don't know if people are into biophilic design as architects and designers, just looking at nature and seeing how nature has created something to survive is a great way to like learn and go, wow, crikey, they've done it. And we need to take more of that on board, I think, when we design buildings, as opposed to just being like destructive and dominating in the landscape. Nature's not dominating, it just sits there beautifully. And also, bamboo, 50% of the biomass of bamboo is carbon. So that's really important. Like most plants, actually, around 50% of the biomass is carbon. So apart from the plastic that's covered it and stuff, if you were to like dry this out so that there's no like moisture in it, about 50% of that weight would be carbon. And when you take a gas, carbon dioxide, and you turn it into a carbon, you multiply it by 3.6. So if you've got 1 kilo of carbon, you've got 3.6 kilos of CO2 that you sucked out of the atmosphere and put into a material. So plants do this really, really well. Bamboo does it really, really, really well. it grows it to a meter a day, which is, you can literally watch it grow. So I got into bamboo. Like I watched a TED talk by a lady called Laura Hardy. When I was studying here at KTH. So I was studying sustainable construction. I was into buildings and aquaponics and permaculture and design and different elements, and I came across bamboo. And so I was like, okay, bamboo, that's cool. And then my friend had been to Sri Lanka surfing, and I was looking for like an internship, like a placement after my university. And he was like, oh, you need to go to Sri Lanka. And I was like, well, I'm looking in England and in Stockholm at Skanska and all these like big construction companies. He's like, yeah, Sri Lanka's a great place. It's a good place. You want to go surfing? It's going to be good. So I was like, okay. So I literally sat in the pub with him on my phone and typed in Eco Resort Hotel Sri Lanka. And because I was like, if I'm going to find something in Sri Lanka, it's probably going to be through Google. But I don't know anyone in Sri Lanka. I've never been to Sri Lanka. And I found this company called Nomadic Resorts, who was the architect and designer of this hotel. And there was some renders online showing like, oh, this is what the hotel will look like. Set to be built in like 2015, but it was already delayed before they started, like most construction projects. And it was like 2016. And I was like, okay. I emailed them and I saw investment opportunities in this hotel. I was like, he's never going to reply to me as a student because who would? And then, so I lied to him. I was like, hi, I'm Frederick. I'd love to invest in your hotel. Like, tell me more about it. How much money do you need? And a surprise, the CEO replied, Louis Thompson, and was like, oh, hi, Frederick. Yeah, this is the hotel. We're going to build it here. It's a bit delayed. And I was like, oh, crikey. Like, I'd not heard anything from Balfour Beatty, from Skanska, all these other companies. maybe because I've not lied to them, but nomadic resorts replied, and then I had this, so then I was like, right, I need to fess up and tell him, like, I'm actually a student and I'd love to come and work in Sri Lanka and build a hotel with him. So I did, and then, yeah, he gave me a job, and yeah, I moved to Sri Lanka, and the day I arrived at the airport, he met me, and he, yeah, he was like, oh, sorry, Freddie, to report, but the hotel project's been stopped, and it got stopped for 3 months, because the day I arrived, and he was like, yeah, the permissions, the land, it's quite a difficult country to do any sort of development projects of this sort of size and scale in. And that was, yeah, my day one, I just learned that. But then eventually, yeah, I moved down to the site. He'd hurt his back, and his kids and wife lived in Colombo. And this was in Yala National Park, which is in the southeast. Has anybody visited Sri Lanka? Plan to go. Honestly, it is the best. It's beautiful, and like, to go for 2 weeks, you can go from like a tropics to dry arid zone and safari to surfing to a temple. Like, it's got everything in such a small space. Like, you can just travel around it, and the food is exquisite. Like, it's great place. But yeah, so I arrived, and it was in Yala National Park, which is in the southeast. And yeah, Louis was like, look, you just need to get 12 guys and start marking out where the hotel's going to go. So we used GPS coordinates and started pegging out like the site and the villas. And we employed 12 guys from the local village. And for a year, we literally like cleared all the little paths, dug all the ponds, which eventually became like grey water recycling systems, so that we could take all the waste water and put it into like these oases, so that people can sit on their jetty or on their like balcony and drink a gin and tonic and look at a leopard. And we didn't put any fences around the hotel. We were just like, because it's really dry, so like, if there's water there, animals will come. Let's not be afraid, because people are going there for a safari. But if you can sit there in your own space and enjoy looking at the animals, then it's great. And we did some like community projects with the local village. To the school, I went round and said, right, we're going to collect all the plastic bottles from the beaches, and then we're going to, because we had to plant some plants. And I said, it seems silly for us to buy all the plants from Colombo and ship them down when children can grow plants easily, and we can pay them to grow plants. So we collected all the plastic bottles, and I did a class the following Friday where we collected the seeds, and then they grew plants. They took them all home in the plastic bottles, and then 3 months later, when they were this big, we bought them all back off them for like over £1, which was just the price we were going to pay anyways to ship them down. And that like brought the community into the project, which I think was really important. So the site, like, it's a safari park, so nobody's really built there, lived there, been there, like, ever. So there's lots of natural capital. In this instance, termite mud and elephant poo. These are two natural materials that were there. And we didn't want to we had to remove some of the termite mounds, so to make space for some of the villas, but it seemed a waste of this. Termite mud is chewed up tree mixed with glue, and it's like rock hard. So it's like a natural rock that you can mix with water, and it goes like liquid, and then you can glue it back together. So all these seats were in the hotel were made of elephant poo and termite mud, because the elephant poo, like, elephants eat trees, so it's like straw. And it creates like a 3D matrix of material that when you mix with poo, and elephant mud, it sets like rock. And it's a natural way to create seating, and it absorbs the moisture out of the soil and out of the air, because it's a natural material, it's not concrete, it's not sealed, so that when it's damp in the air, it sucks in the moisture, and then on a hot day, you sit on it and it's cold, because all the water like comes out of the seat, like all the moisture comes out of the seat. So nature knows how to make it comfortable. And then we covered it in beeswax and linseed oil and sealed it, and those are the seats. And then this is the chandelier we made out of the leftover bamboo scaffolding, because we were like, we need chandeliers. Okay, well, we've got loads of bamboo scaffolding, so we chopped it all up and made it into a chandelier, and it looked quite cool. And then these rocks, we had to, there was a few rocks in the pool, we had to break them and remove them, and it was quite difficult, because nobody had like really good excavators to do it. But when we did break them finally, we made them into quartz. They were made of quartz, and we put them into the bar, and we put lights in the bar. And there was leopards moving through the hotel. So this is the villas. There was 36 of these dotted throughout the site. It's quite high end, like the resort. To spend one night in there. Have a guess how much it's shocking. Like I would never stay in it, but have a guess how much it costs to stay a night. Put a number on it. 1,000? 7,000. Okay, 7,000. That's wrong. For one night, that's a really high amount. You know, so one night was just over $1,000 for one night. No, 1,000. Yeah, for one night. It's outrageous. There was for every guest there was 3 staff. In Sri Lanka, yeah. No, it's not backpackers. I was used to staying in backpackers, and I'm quite happy. I did sleep there one night on a piece of insulation on the floor, as I was waiting for something to be delivered. But yeah, so eco hotel. It's branded as like Sri Lanka's most eco resort, most sustainable hotel because we did like bits with the bamboo and we recycled the water. We had solar panels. We used elephant mud. But you look at the interior of this room, right? The bathtub's made of copper in India. The fan came from South Africa. The mattress came from Europe. Like these materials and these products to make it comfortable for people. Like you need to bring things from all over the world, and it's branded as an eco hotel. But the emissions that comes from transporting and manufacturing these goods is shocking. But it gets branded as an eco hotel. So I don't want to be a whistleblower, but. But I think we have to look at things like and actually look past the sort of the greenwashing and see like but then I've been looking at the other way. Sorry to go backwards and forwards, but looking at the other way, like because people can spend $1,000 a night because they're comfortable and they trust this space, then we can have the money to invest in sustainable projects on the site. We can use elephant mud, and we can spend time picking up elephant poo because we've got the money to do it. If you don't have the money to do it because people aren't paying a top rate, then you can't incorporate sustainability and like comfort together. But yeah, this is one of the ponds. I got sent this photo after it was finished and an elephant sitting in it, which is just a dream. Because that's what we're trying to do. The crocodile one morning like walked into a mosque, walked into the mosque in the village. And I was like, what? It was like 6 meters long. I think just threw tea towels on it and tie it up and took it. And it's just like, that's how we need to do with the crocodile. And those elephant bones that we put into the hotel. Like there's a library of like fossils and stuff and bones. It's quite cool. This is the squad, the boys that built it. Like all of the guys in this photo from the local village, like 10 k's away, and it was so cool. Like to live in this village. I'm going back in 2 weeks, and I'm not going back for like 3 years. So I'm buzzing to see everybody. We played cricket on Wednesday afternoon. I'll be honest, I was not like a fully qualified builder to do this hotel. Like I worked on construction sites, but to go from working on construction sites like labouring to trying to do this was a massive step up. But actually, that construction is pretty straightforward. If it's level, you use a level, and you can see this level. If you use a tape measure and it's the right length. Like those are the 2 main things. If you can get it right like that, then obviously you need to get the team around you and the resources. But just having a laugh with all these guys, they're all my age, and we just had a great time and got stuck into it for just under 3 years doing it. And so now I was obsessed with bamboo because the bamboo part of it was beautiful and it was a way to sequester carbon. And I just was looking at life cycle analysis and seeing like, well, we can make buildings out of carbon dioxide. So now I started learning more about bamboo and then came across Jörg Stam. So he was building bridges in Colombia out of bamboo in the 1980s, like 60-meter free-span motorway bridges. Like outrageous. Like people are doing this with grass, and he was doing it 40 years ago. So I was like, I need to meet this guy because he's the don. And he was paid by UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, to go to Northeast India, Arunachal Pradesh, and host a workshop on building with bamboo. And after this project finished that we've been working on, UNIDO had approached us to set up a bamboo factory in Sri Lanka to start the development of the project, to start developing bamboo. And I was like pleasant to do that. I was like 100%, this is going to be great. Next step to do that. And then unfortunately it fell through. But I was linked to this workshop hosted by Jörg up in Northeast India. So I went up there and met farmers, met growers, met craftsmen and tribal villages, the Idu Mishmi tribe, was where the workshop was held. Like, this is where bamboo has been used for like 2,000–3,000 years. Like, people are weaving it into baskets. They're smoking it as a pipe. They're making it into a bed. They're building houses out of it. Like, bamboo is like their bread and butter. You can make a knife out of bread, out of bamboo. And I met like a guy called Gunu, who was the head man of his tribe in Emission, and they for like the last 20 years they've been chopping down all the trees and just making it into plywood. And now there's a big problem with flooding with the Brahma. Do you know the Brahmaputra River? It's like above Bangladesh, comes down from the Himalayas next to Myanmar and Tibet, and everyone's just been chopping the trees. So now, like, when the monsoon comes, all the rivers are literally just widening and widening by like kilometers each year, and just ripping all the soil away. And he was like, we need to do something about it. So I was like, okay, right, well, if we can plant some bamboo and start binding up the soil, then it's a start to stop this problem. And if we can generate like carbon financing to do this, then it's another solution that can finance the planting of the bamboo. So I went there in the start, just before COVID. I was there when COVID sort of kicked off. My family were like, Fred, you need to come back. And I was like, I'm in this village. It is so peaceful, no drama, no internet really to like get caught up in the news and understand what COVID was. I was like, I'm quite happy to stay here. And they're like, no, you need to come back now. And I was like, okay. And it came home, and then obviously like COVID happened, and that's 2 years gone. And so we planted bamboo. And one of the questions that came to me was like, okay, so when we harvest this bamboo, how are we going to harvest it? Because the poles are like 100 meters tall. 35 meters tall. How are we going to harvest this? And Gunnar was like, oh, you just use an elephant. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you just use an elephant. And I was like, and I thought about it. I was like, how do you do it? He's like, well, you get a marker, like a spray can, and you spray the pole that you want the elephant to take, and the elephant comes along with its trunk and just pulls it out, rips it out. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Like, wow. And I was like, but like, you just use an excavator, wouldn't you? Like, just pull it out. He's like, no, use an elephant. And I was like, morally, that's not right. Like, you can't use an elephant. So, but then I thought, like, well, life cycle analysis. We're going to do a life cycle analysis of all of like the projects, the emissions that we're generating from growing bamboo. We have to do it right. And actually, when you look at an elephant, it doesn't really have any emissions. But when you look at a excavator, it's loads of emissions. So I want to have a vote. Now, who would use an elephant, or who would use an excavator in this room? So can I have like a show of hands? If you use an elephant, you have to go like this, like an elephant is. If you're going to use, after three, hold on, don't give it away. If you're going to use an excavator, I go like this. And that's a trunk, but it's not, it's an excavator. So I want to see on the vote. Elephant or excavator, 3, 2, 1. Elephant, everyone elephant, shocking. Really? Okay, for the emissions or for the coolness of it? Or for the Instagram story, probably. Yeah, so we didn't use elephants. Because I thought that's horrendous. I'm surprised that you all voted for elephants. Okay, yeah, elephants are pretty cool. And people ride horses, so like. So yeah, bamboo. Like, we got into bamboo, growing bamboo, sequestering carbon. Does anyone know what this is? Not far off. Does anyone know electron microscope? Like, this is taken with an electron microscope. So this is looking at something called biochar under an electron microscope. Has anyone come across biochar before? No? So biochar is like charcoal. It's like pure carbon. So you can pyrolyze any biomass, and 50% of it is carbon. So you remove all the other elements, the hydrogen, all the fibers of a lignin, and you're left with pure carbon. And biochar, it's a permanent form. Do you know that graph at the start where I showed like carbon removal and the permanent form of storage? So when biochar is in the ground, it lasts there for like 1,000 years. Like people in the Amazon were using this for like thousands of years ago as a way to fertilize their crops, because charcoal, because of its porous structure, it holds lots of microbes and nutrients and water in the soil, in the biochar itself. So then when you mix this into degraded land, it's like a sponge, and it can repel all the like nutrients that were held up inside of it. So now we're really interested in biochar with bamboo, and as a way to permanently remove carbon from the atmosphere. Because yeah, bamboo grows like billions, grows millions of, there's millions of tons of bamboo growing, but a lot of it's overgrown. And we need to start turning this into a permanent form of carbon storage. Because if you grow a bamboo, within 10 to 30 years, this bamboo pole will come out the ground, and then it will die and compost and release all the emissions that were once there. Like if you look at a compost heap, there's sort of steam coming off it. Like in a garden, there's steam coming off the compost heap. And that's emissions being released. So we need to solidify the carbon that's in biomass and store it in the soil. Or you can store it in concrete. You can mix it into concrete as a way to reduce the amount of sand that's being used in concrete and in asphalt. Biochar holds a really high temperature, which is really good. And you can also feed it to animals, to cows, in particular, because it binds all the methane inside their stomach, like this charcoal pellet, binds all the methane in the stomach, so that when they fart it out or shit it out, it goes into the ground, and as a nutrient, it then goes into the soil. So then you're spreading biochar, you're spreading carbon that was once in the atmosphere into the soil, but fertilized carbon that's in the soil. I don't know if anyone has charcoal tablets when they feel sick, or they've got like a upset stomach. It's literally the same stuff. It's an amazing compound. It's just pure carbon. You have it in water filters, like in your fridge, like a stick of charcoal. So it's got so many uses, but it's just not talked about or really used. And only in these last few years, as the carbon market started to shape up, people are looking at biochar as a way to sequester carbon out of the atmosphere. So yeah, you pyrolyze it, you turn it to carbon, then there's the gases that come off. You can make bio oil or like bottled gas, which you can then use to create energy, like heating or boiling water or electricity through a generator. And then yes, some of the emissions then go back into the more plants that you've planted, into the bamboo, and then the whole cycle begins again. But you're sucking carbon out of the atmosphere, and that's really important. So with bamboo, we've been working on this for quite some time. As a startup, I think you have to pivot and change and iterate and learn and adapt. Oh, sorry, question.
Does pyrolysis mean that you burn?
Sorry?
Pyrolysis.
Yeah.
Does it mean that you burn?
So you heat it between 300 and sort of 700 degrees. You burn away. But what I forgot to say is that in the absence of oxygen. So you're cooking it in like a closed kiln, so that you're burning everything apart from the carbon. You're left with the pure carbon. But I guess the compounds that come off, that's like the syngas, and then you can cook this again as a form of energy. So you can burn the gases that are coming off the pyrolysis as a source of energy. So yeah, there is burning, but what you're trying to do is keep the pure carbon element. But yeah, bamboo, we've been trying to incorporate so many different things for so long, like sustainable development and bamboo growing and energy production, and then trying to communicate it to customers in Europe through an app and through plugins. People buy bamboo and they offset their carbon emissions. It's been challenging. I'll be honest, it's been challenging to try and give something simple that people can digest and go, oh, okay, I can understand why I click buy bamboo, or why do I buy a carbon credit? Because sustainability is not simple. It's not one size fits all. So yeah, this is our vision of how we can use carbon finance. Instead of putting all the money into super-powered machines in Iceland, into the global north, into technical machines and equipment, I think it's really important to sort of rebalance the inequality that there is in the world. But if we can, bamboo grows in the global south really, really well. Why can we not pay some of the people in the global south to grow bamboo, to create fertilizer for their soil, to sequester carbon, to generate electricity, to have a material which can be used for buildings, for textiles? There's such an opportunity right now in the world. Yes, we need the technical solutions, but we also need to sort of rebalance the inequality that exists. And that's what we've been trying to do with bamboo. It's a big vision, and it's endless, and it's going to take so much, but we continue and persist to keep moving forward, because if we can do some small bits of this, then at least it's better than doing nothing at all. It might not be perfect, but it's better than doing nothing at all. And I hope that we can continue to push forward with it, because eventually, one day, we hope the world's going to be a better place to live in, I think if we can contribute towards that, then it's a fun thing to do, and it's purpose, and I think I need purpose to be able to crack on with my life. And yeah, so Shaboom, that's sort of what I was going to talk about. Bit of bamboo, bit of climate change, and biochar bamboo. Yeah, so.
Back. We have 5 minutes more with Freddie. If you want to take any question, I'm gonna give you like 5, 6 questions max.
Very nice idea, but I have a question about the transformation between the bamboo and the biochar. Like when do you, when do you do that? Like, is it at the end of the life cycle of the bamboo? Or?
No, so bamboo you can harvest every year as it's a grass. So the plant's growing and it's producing these new poles every year. So you can cut them down, the biomass, and then you can pyrenize them in a kiln. Okay. So we do it in the process, that in the field.
And then you grow bamboo again too. So
exactly, yeah. Yeah, the bamboo continues to grow. Like it grows for 100 years, the plant, until it flowers. And then every bamboo within 1,000 kilometers flowers and dies. It's a weird thing, nobody really knows why. So hopefully we don't have any flowering bamboo in the next 50 years.
Okay, and the startup, like your company, is responsible of this transformation between the bamboo and biochar, or like when your company like grows the bamboo, or like you transform it to the bamboo?
Yeah, so we started by growing bamboo in our natural light in 2020. We planted 3,000, and we had quite a few elephants couldn't eat them, unfortunately. And then with COVID, we weren't able to go there and visit and plant them more. And when I was there, also I saw that there's so much bamboo growing already. So now we're focusing purely on the turning of bamboo, so buying the bamboo when it's harvested and turning it into biochar and then giving it back to the farmer as a source of fertilizer. Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, is there like a standard way of actually measuring the carbon emissions of the company? Like, is there like a rule book or something that companies usually do use?
Yeah, so they're like World Favor and Value, like these companies follow the rule book on how to measure carbon emissions. But all these documents are free online for you to use. So we were doing it just from DEFRA, it's like in the UK releases all these documents on emissions factors, so that you in Excel can just calculate your emissions. So with Sri Lanka, we're calculating the emissions of how, what we're producing. So it's quite a straightforward thing to do. Like you can do it personally, just as a way just to check yourself. But like Doconomy, you saw the company on there, they're connecting to like your debit card. So every time you purchase something, it's calculating the emissions that was generated from that purchase, which is quite cool. Because people want like convenience and ease, and I think that's going to happen more and more. Like measuring your emissions and logging Excel every night is not fun. Believe me, I've tried. But as apps pop up with these solutions, it's going to make it a lot easier to have those sort of science-based targets on emissions. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions?
Question over here.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, suppose I bought property over here and put a lot of trees around over there, and then I want to go kind of go from there to generating carbon credits in Europe or in Sweden. Do you know how that works over here?
Yeah, so like the European biochar certification, like this has appeared sort of like 2-3 years ago, which is sort of the standard body on how to quantify the amount of carbon that you're removing from the atmosphere and storing it. But you have to do like a life cycle analysis of when you're harvesting the tree or bamboo, and are you using a chainsaw? What's the emissions generated from using the chainsaw? When you're transporting the bamboo to the kiln, what's the emissions associated with that? So you need to be able to map out all the emissions in the process to deduct that from the total carbon that's stored. So it is possible. It's quite expensive to do, but it's worth doing. Yeah.
One of the things I know about bamboo is that it's also an infesting plant, which I mean, it could turn into something interesting, but at the same time, it could kind of damage the
biodiversity.
Yeah, the biolife and the number of species, and also get rid of them.
Isn't it like a bad point?
So there's two sort of strains of bamboo. You have one called sympodial and one called monopodial. The one that's invasive is monopodial. That's what's grown in China and in like sort of South America. It spreads out, like you say, like just covers everything. It covers the whole mountainside. We're focusing on the sympodial one, which grows from a clump, from a fixed location. So that photo I showed you, the black and white photo of the bamboo, that's growing from one location so that you can intercrop with bamboo. Sorry, with other plants around it. It's not super invasive. But yeah, good question. But people will still grow, like if that carbon removal, like someone said it to me recently, is like actually we need parts of the world that are just going to draw down that they might be void of biodiversity, but we actually need areas that are just removing carbon out of the atmosphere, because otherwise the biodiversity across the entire planet is affected. So we're better to like go hard and like really densely remove emissions in one location, or do we do little bits of everything in all sorts of places, but everything doesn't get to where it needs to be. So it's a trade-off. Like we're finding that with some of our growers is that they just want to go full hard with bamboo, grow it everywhere. And we're like, wow, we want to protect the biodiversity, because if we can include that as that's a value in carbon credits as well. If you can have those co-benefits that promote biodiversity, gender equality, and you can measure and show those, then the carbon credit won't sell for $200, it'll sell for $220. So it's a trade-off between quantity over quality. And but yeah, it's a good question. Good thought. Yeah.
We have one last question here. I'm sorry, we ran out of time.
Yeah, one question. Are there other plants like bamboo that could be used for like in the same way? But no?
Yeah. Hemp is really it's like bamboo grows super fast, sequesters loads of carbon, has multiple uses. It's just the tobacco industry sort of shut it down, I think, in America, like in the 30s. So, but it's making a renaissance. Yeah.
All right. I would like to have a big and warm applause to Fredly.
We have a really fun really loved it. I hope you are going to enjoy lunch with us later at work.
So if you have any questions, I think you can just have a chat with him.
Thanks for your time, everyone. Appreciate it.
If you want to do something,
Thank you so much.
All right, so I'm gonna set up the next part. I just have to do some tricky technology thing because we didn't manage to connect the output of this microphone to the recording. But by any chance, Balázs, there is Balázs there. He's there, he's waiting. I don't know where my arrow is. Can you guys see my arrow on the screen? Is it here? Here. Oh, here. Oh, right. Can we pin Balázs to the screen?
Maybe.
Hi, Balázs. Wait a second, because there is no volume. Oh, I need to join audio. Oh, so many things to do with this thing. Join audio. Join audio. Okay, Balázs, speak. Oh, no, wait. Don't.
Now, do you hear me well? Yeah, I see hands in the air. Even though I see you from behind, well, usually that's not the first sentence that you want to hear from me. All right. But I don't hear anything from your side, so I guess the mic from the background which I used before is missing. Now I hear something.
No, it's important.
Yeah, it's amazing, but I don't see
the arrow. Okay, wait. Try now. Do you hear us now?
Yep.
Ah, amazing. We managed. All right. Hi, Balazs. How are you doing? What time is it where you live?
Oh, well, it's 3 a.m. So I already I am apologizing already for the not connected sentences and maybe hard to understand ones. So feel free to interrupt me anytime because I already start to get bored of my own voice at 3 a.m. and want to get back to sleep soon.
So we're gonna now introduce the next part, and this is the last part of our plenaries. We invited Balazs from TV Dizik. I hope you know him. If you don't know him, he's also a fellow alumni of ours. Spent a lot of time together with competition, we did digital alumni and so on, designing challenges, and he will probably say a bit about TV Dizik as well. We're going to introduce the challenge of today because we are a digital alumni and we love challenges, we love to solve problems and so on. And the challenge is going to be related to the topic of this whole meeting, that is social responsibility tech, and very well linked to the presentation of Freddy, actually, on sustainable development. And Balazs is going to say something also about that. I don't know if you have presentation like a privilege or so, but try to share your screen and then we fix that in case if my arrow is still around the screen. If not, we don't. Yes, Balazs, let's start the screen sharing. We can see black.
Yeah, I can see that you see black, which is surprising.
We see.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Luckily, I have a check-in as well because I see you from the behind. So I see all of you who are checking the phones right now. Feel free to do it. I will be just very quickly introducing the challenge. Thank you very much, Luca.
Are you good to start?
Yeah, I'm good, and I will cut it a bit shorter. I see because we are flying with the time a little bit. So I'm gonna try to cut it short. Thank you very much. So hello everyone. I'm really sorry that I cannot be there with you. I really try to move around everything and every project in a way that I can make it to Stockholm this time. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do so, and I can just only join you with a little bit of challenge for this alumni meeting, and hopefully I won't miss any of those alumni meetings anymore, like I didn't miss any of them before. I was very glad to hear that in this alumni meeting there will be actually something that will remind us for our background with EIT Digital, bring us a little bit of deja vu moment, so we can relive, well, for some of us the fun part, for others the pain part of the EIT Digital program itself is the business challenge. So then I heard it from Luca that there will be this event where we will have this business challenge for a couple of hours again together to relive our best moments. I really got excited, and obviously when we started to discuss the topics, it got even more and more important to me and more interesting to me what will be the end result of this. Our company, Keynote, is delivering entrepreneurship education all across the globe. We are teaching at MIT, Google, from US to Japan. I'm right now in Vancouver leading the expansion of the company to the North Americas. And I was very interested in not only just education in innovation education as we do, but education innovation as well, since we got into that in the last 3 years with a lot of consortia all across Europe. So when we are talking about the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, as Luca just mentioned before, we really try to find the right topic which all of us share some experience and have some past with it, and we realize that, well, the quality education is where we can see a lot of place for improvement, especially after these 2 years now staying apart, having painful online lectures from a lot of different institutes, maybe you didn't go through the online education, but you most probably heard all the pain points of it. And we all had some pain points of the education itself before. So we all have the touch since we are in the digital alumni. So for this challenge, we propose two different directions to depart on, and obviously you can wander away and diverge away from these topics as well to converge to an innovative solution, like we usually do in the IT Digital Alumni. So these first two topics, you are quicker to read than I'm talking. It's education transition, where we are thinking about what can be the education if you're thinking about outside of the traditional classroom. It's a very broad topic, so you can just really diverge away from it and converge back to a narrow part of this problem domain. And then the second one is, what if we consider grades are old school and we don't have to follow the path of grading or the rubrics as usual in an education system. So how can you imagine a system where there is evidence or proof of learning, but they are not the grades? There are directions of micro-credentials where EU is moving by 2025, but I'm really looking forward to see some very innovative and creative solutions in these two topics. You are free to choose the topic. You can choose any of these two, and as I said, you are free to diverge away from it. And what is the outcome that we are looking for in this upcoming few hours? It's a video pitch. We don't want you to pitch right now in front of us in the jury like in a traditional setting, but we would like to have a more inclusive solution or finals where we actually share our video pitches in the social media network of the IT Digital Alumni, and our community can decide which pitch is the best one. This pitch should be 3 minutes long. You should shoot it where you are. You don't need more than a phone, I think, to shoot these videos. They can already shoot 4K easily. You should find your quiet space in the end of the time slot and then shoot this 3-minute pitch. Cut it, edit it as you wish. There is no limitations of the format of the video, so it can be including you as well, or just the pitch and audio under it. I'm pretty sure you can come up with lots of creative solutions, and I'm looking forward to be surprised when I'm checking them out. And these should be the 3 topics that we should focus in the pitch, which has to be included, is what is the problem that you are solving, the exact problem, so narrowing down from these broad topics that we just presented, the solution itself, how do you plan to solve it, or what is the expected direction to go with the education, and then what is the impact of it. So these are the 3 things that you need to focus on. And obviously you can have a punchline in the beginning. All of you know how to pitch and how to put together a very attractive business pitch in the end. So that is from the business challenge itself. Here is the schedule that I received from the board. So right after my quick talk, you will have a networking lunch where you can already spend your time together and have some fun. And then there will be the challenge time where you work with your team. There will be coaching from the local team, or guiding around, walking around, and there will be supporting materials, which I will just talk about it in a second. And then the last moment to upload your pitch videos, it's 6:30 CET. That time I will be already awake again, and looking forward to see what you have come up with. There is supporting material, so there is 2 links here. The drive link, obviously, where you have to submit your stuff. That will be, I think, distributed also by your channels as well. And the other link is the Keynote 6 slides. We were thinking about to design a very strict step-by-step workshop-based material that we do with our students most of the time. But we realize that we are all experts in I&E. We all graduated and we all have a very beautiful certificate proving that we are awesome in that. So we just decided to make it in a flipped classroom setup. There is free slideshow in this link of community 6 slides, which includes 3 different topics. One is the narrowing down the problem, so that will be chop it until you drop. That's the title of the exercise. All of them are like half-an-hour exercises. You can run them by yourself in your team if you feel that you are lacking on clarity on the problem, for example, then you go with this exercise. And there is the other exercise for more creativity, is when you really want to focus on what can go wrong with the idea to trigger more and more counter arguments and more innovative solutions. So there are these 3 exercises focusing on topics of problem, the value network itself, and then the innovativeness of the idea or the risk mitigation itself. So I think that's all from me on my slides, and I think I would like to just get back to a little bit of Q&A if anything was not clear. I think Luca and the board will share these links with you.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to see the results. Luca?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you so much, Balázs. Thank you for being online at 3 a.m. in the morning for us. And thank you for everything that you did to develop this challenge. So I'll pick up the logistics now. We're gonna have lunch in the hallway, but first, you just received a message. You're gonna see in the Telegram group, there is a link with the Drive folder where you can find the presentation that Balázs just showed you with the links for the 3 canvases, frameworks, or topics, as you call it, that can guide you through the challenge, as well as the folder where you will have to upload the videos by 6:30 today. So then after the networking lunch, we will move to the CLC upstairs. We will guide you, of course. And you will see that we already set up on the tables with the beloved sticky notes that we all love, markers. Yeah, we're gonna go back to that time. And you will have your own space. You're free to do basically whatever you want in the way you want, and leave the space whenever you feel comfortable with whatever you created to record the video. The video can be recorded here, can be recorded in Stockholm, around the city center, in the hostel, wherever you want. Just make sure that at 6:30 we have your submission in the folder. Any question? JC?
What's the reward for the winning team?
You're gonna know very soon.
You have until 6
Where is it? We have 6 members per team. So we have 11 teams in total. We are 66 people today, in theory. Participants, actual participants. 1 person bailed out, and they were Davor. They have COVID. Davor is gonna leave us, unfortunately, around 2:30 for. I'm staying. You're staying. You're staying. Yes. Cool. Any other question? Are you hungry? Yes. Then stand up, and we can all go and follow from that door, guys. Door. This direction. We can all go through the hallway, and Balázs, one last bye from here. It's everything.
I really wish I could be there, guys. But just if you want to meet me, actually our company